Jeremiah with Handloader TV, and welcome back to the Reloading Room. Today we're talking about the 10mm auto. A while back, in issue number 200 of Handloader magazine, the associate editor, Al Miller, wrote an article labeled Sunset for the 10. And it was all about the decrease in popularity of the 10mm auto and how 40 Smith & Wesson was on the rise. A few ammunition manufacturers quit supplying ammo for the cartridge, and a few major firearms manufacturers like Colt and a few others ceased making pistols. And Al Miller really lamented the fact because he loved the cartridge, and his Colt Delta 10 was one of the most accurate 1911s he ever had out of the box. Now fast forward about 20 years later, and it started to make a comeback. We actually did a Pet Loads article, Brian Pierce did, in Handloader issue number 314 on the 10mm auto. The test gun used was a Colt Delta Elite chambered in 10mm auto. So we thought it would be really neat to take this same gun, go out to the range, work up some hand loads for it, show you guys some of our load development, and what kind of groups we can get with it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take this guy, and we'll see you on the range. We got a gong set up here at 100 yards. We have the 10mm locked and loaded. Let's see if we can hit it. I did just a little bit, but no problem. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Let's shoot something else. Okay, so first up we have some hand loads here in Starline brass with Federal 150 primers. It's 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point, and we've got it loaded up with 10 grains of accurate number 7. The target's at about 10 yards. We have our lab radar chronograph set up to record velocity. So we're going to load this guy up, arm our chronograph, and we'll see how it groups. There we go. Okay, so we're on to the next load now. This is 180 grain Federal Hydroshock loaded with 11.5 grains of accurate number 7. Starline brass, Federal 150 primer. Let's load it up, arm our chronograph, we'll see how it groups. Definitely a little stouter recoil and a little more velocity on that one. 1,313 feet a second. Okay, we're on to the next load. This is a 180 grain Federal Hydroshock over 4.8 grains of Winchester 231 powder, and it's in Starline brass with the same Federal 150 primer. Arm our chronograph and shoot them. There's all 5. Makes for a really nice light recoiling load with this Winchester 231. Okay, so the next load is in Starline brass, Federal 150 primer, 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point over 4.8 grains of Winchester 231. Gonna arm the chronograph, see how they group. There we go. Another nice light recoiling load. Okay, so now we're on to another load. This is 180 grain Federal Hydroshock in accurate number 7. And we're using 12 grains of that. It's in Starline brass in a Federal 150 primer. So let's go ahead and arm our chronograph. And we'll see how these guys group. There we go. A little bit stouter recoil on that one, but a good solid self-defense load. I actually used a load just like this to kill a pig. This final load is 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point in Starline brass, Federal 150 primer, and we're using accurate number 7 with 10.5 grains. Oh, gotta arm that. We'll see how it does. There we are. Gun's empty. Now let's go ahead and we'll head inside and talk about the groups, how the gun performed. Welcome back to the bench. We're going to crunch some numbers and look at our targets, but before we do that, I want to tell you about the loading process we used to develop these loads. I've selected quite a few powders to try and test. These are some of my top four. And then to throw all our charges, we used an RCBS Matchmaster set in match mode, so the powder charges are extremely consistent. And then we used Redding 10mm dies, and it's a combination set because they will also work with 40 Smith & Wesson. The setup's a little bit different, you got to back it off a little bit, but very simple, very easy to do. So with that being said, let's go ahead and walk you through load number 1, the first target we shot here. We used 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point, and we used accurate number 7, 10 grain charge, Federal 150 primer, and Starline brass, which is the same throughout all of our testing. Starline makes outstanding brass and we really like it. So, one flyer to the left, not a bad group, but not the best group. It measured out to 2 3/4 inches and a standard deviation of 7.5 with an extreme spread of 18. Not bad for our first load that we tried. The next one was a little bit poorer. And this is load number 2, target number 2. The standard deviation was 3.9, which I thought was interesting, and the extreme spread was 11, which is good numbers there. The group size measured out to 2.5 inches, and this is using a 180 grain Federal Hydroshock with 11.5 grains of accurate number 7. Same brass, same primer. Next we have target 3 with 180 grain Federal Hydroshock and 4.8 grains of Winchester 231 powder. This group held it together really well, and then I had a flyer way down low on the target, and with the flyer it measures out to 3 1/4 inches. To be honest, I hate to say it, that was probably me. I'm not perfect, and I do throw shots from time to time. So without the flyer, the group measures out to 1 inch. A standard deviation of 17.8 and an extreme spread of 47 feet a second. Next we have target number 4, which is 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point with 4.8 grains of Winchester 231. And our group size for this one was kind of all over the place at 3 1/4 inches. Standard deviation was 14 and our extreme spread was 35. Not that impressive. And then once again, here we have another target with a flyer in it. That's on me. This is 180 grain Federal Hydroshock, loaded to 12 grains of accurate number 7. And the group size measures out to 3 1/2 inches with the flyer, and it measures out to 1 1/2 inches without the flyer in the bottom of the target. Our standard deviation was 5.7, and our extreme spread was 15 feet a second. So far, so good. And it's always the last load you try that seems to work the best. Load number 6, target number 6. We have a 1 inch group on this guy, pretty outstanding. We used 180 grain Nosler jacketed hollow point and 10.5 grains of accurate number 7. And for all these loads, they were seated to 1.250 inches. The standard deviation was 14.1 and the extreme spread was 36. Really nice group, and overall this is probably the best load of the day, measuring out to just 1 inch. And we had decent velocity on it as well, averaging about 1,217 feet a second. So with that being said, now that you've seen all that, the gun, I really like it. It's got great sights on it right from the factory. The trigger pull's excellent right from the factory. The magazine feeds nicely and smoothly, no malfunctions, no issues there. It just feels really nice. And the added weight, a little bit larger caliber, a little bit larger frame, it really helps balance everything out nicely, and it helps mitigate the recoil. So, if you would like to know more about Brian's Pet Loads article and see even more load data and information on the 10mm, be sure to check out Handloader issue number 314. There's lots of great info in there. And until next time, we hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. 10mm is the best millimeter. And you can find all of our magazines available on our website, handloadermagazine.com. We'll catch you next time. So we got a gong set up here at 100 yards. Let's see if we can hit it.
Yeah, of course.
Second shot. Well, you shouldn't have said that. Who cares if it takes 2 shots?